gentlemen, what you gonna do, brother? Oh, yeah! Woo! What? What? If you smell what the rock... You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
Welcome to another edition of Around the Turnbuckle. I'm the Big Albowski, conspicuous by his absence is Professor Keith, but he's on location somewhere in parts unknown. Joining me tonight live from New Mexico is professional wrestler Jason Dredd. What's up, my man?
How's it going, Big? How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I am excited. I'm pumped up. I always love doing these, man. I love doing interviews, and I love talking to local wrestlers. I love talking to independent wrestlers. And you yourself, by your own admission, pre-show, have only been wrestling for a couple years, so I get you early, right? I get you before you're just getting your feet wet in this business. So my first question to you is, man, once upon a time, Jason Dredd fell in love with wrestling. Tell us how that happened and who were your influences that made you want to learn how to do this?
So way back in 2006, I was blessed enough to be able to know my great-grandmother. So she was a huge wrestling fan. I grew up just south of Memphis, Tennessee, which is synonymous with professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
And my great-grandmother was a humongous wrestling fan to the day she passed away. I remember very vividly, it's one of those weird things that you just cannot forget. Walking into her house, and she had an episode of Friday Night SmackDown on. And again, this was 2006.
Right.
I was 10, and I still remember it. It was Mr. Kennedy versus Scotty 2 Hotty. And I was like, man, that's kind of cool, you know? Like, I'm interested in that. Like, that seems pretty neat. I didn't fall in love with it right then. A couple of years later, I'd be hanging out with my friends and family, and I never was a big gamer. I didn't really have any video games until I was a little bit older. But I had a friend of mine that had some gaming system, and he was playing some random wrestling game, and I didn't know who it was, but I would always pick Sting. Looking back at it, it was Sting. It was Wolfpack Sting, because I was like, man, he looks cool. I want to play with him, you know. And my cousins, I would pick like Triple H and The Rock. Didn't have any clue what it was. And then I kind of just started slowly building up my interest in it, and I would look into it more and more. And eventually, I just fell in love with the whole theatrics of it, and I was like, man, that's awesome. So I continued to watch it. It was always something that I wanted to do. I just like most people, I had a trampoline in the backyard. Me and my brother would be giving each other DDTs and swanton bombs and stuff like that. So eventually I was just like, man, this is something that I want to do. Like, that's something that I think that I could do. And as far as like influential people, I've always been a fan of Triple H.
The one to pick.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the way he can flip a switch in an instant, where he's like the funny guy in his DX days to the King of Kings, where he's angry.
Right.
One specific storyline that sticks out to me, and keep in mind I'm only 24, is it was the whole DX versus the Legacy thing, the McMahons versus the Legacy.
Right.
There was something about Triple H just walking out to face Randy Orton and the Legacy, just shaking with rage. I was like, man, that is awesome. So I've always liked Triple H. I've always been a big fan of technical guys too. I've always liked Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, William Regal even. You know, I love to hate William Regal. I love to hate Edge. So those are some of the guys that I kind of watch now and study.
You watch old stuff, so you go back on, like, say, the network or Peacock or whatever, and you watch old stuff, like a student of the
Absolutely.
game.
Absolutely, yeah. My trainer, Gino Rivera, is actually dead set. He said, "Do not watch anything after 2000 if you're studying." So I
And
watch a
there's
lot
a
of In Your
reason for
House.
that. There was a
Absolutely,
reason for that because last night Keith and I had an episode specifically about that because in 2001 Vince McMahon bought WCW and ECW and the business has changed
it
drastically
did. It
since.
did. So yeah, I study whenever I do. Like I watch wrestling completely different now than what I used to. So now uh, I find myself watching a lot of In Your House, uh,
Sure.
a lot of old school WCW. I love technical wrestling. I like that aspect of it. And then the WCW cruiserweights, like those were well ahead of their time.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I've completely changed the way I've looked at wrestling since I started. And I don't watch much of current stuff.
Neither
Um,
do I.
and I'm slowly getting into like I'm trying to figure out like the whole New Japan thing because I didn't know New Japan existed until I was a professional wrestler.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to find on TV, but when you find it, it's fun to watch.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm definitely grateful for the Peacock app and the WWE app and stuff like that. That way I can
I got a
study.
comment from a guy that you might know. What's up, my guys? Marcus Johnson.
Oh, Marcus Johnson, Spitfire. Man, how's it going, Marcus?
Yeah, big shout out to Marcus who recommended you in the
Absolutely.
first place.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Marcus is a great guy, man. I
you know
respect him a
what?
lot.
I've talked to Marcus several times, and Marcus just seems like one of those guys that would do anything for anybody kind of guy.
Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely. I've
and
met him a
that's
few
that's
times.
that's the kind of guys you need in your life, man. I mean, in this
Absolutely.
business, you don't find too many guys like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, I met Marcus in Top of Texas in Amarillo. Every time I've been there, even whenever I was brand new and wasn't even on the card, I was just there because I wanted to show my face. Marcus was always very welcoming. He was very outgoing. He was so just kind in a place where I was kind of out of my element at first. He was very welcoming, and I fully respect him from that.
He's in the same boat as you in the aspect of he might be a little bit ahead of you as far as like the training goes and stuff, but he's building a brand just like you are.
Absolutely,
And
and I
and
can
and
see it too.
and I can't stress that enough in the indie scene. Build a brand. All right.
Absolutely.
You gotta find that version of you that's you, but with the volume turned way up
Hmm.
and and that's how you get noticed. The ring work is part of it, but it's not always the whole damn thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Marcus is like I said, he's a great guy. Uh, I think I'm going to see him this coming up weekend in Colorado. So
There you go. So big shout out to Marcus. Oh, so let's go back to where you decided to do this. Who did you get in touch with? Did you just go and you just start at a school or did you hear about where you could go?
man, so that whole journey was wild. I'm not even going to lie. So I moved to Albuquerque in about 2016. Uh, and like I said, I kind of wasn't really watching wrestling religiously at the time. Uh, but I happened to be scrolling on Facebook one day and I saw an ad for a local show and it was Destiny Wrestling Organization, which was a local company in Albuquerque. And the reason it piqued my interest is because I saw Tommy Dreamer was on the was advertised. I'm like,
Okay,
man, like it's Tommy Dreamer. I'm not gonna miss this opportunity.
right?
So I
ECW
bought it
original.
absolutely. Like and it obviously it was destiny, uh, no pun intended. So I go to this show and I'm watching, and I see a guy named Gino Rivera, and Gino was one of those guys where, like I said, you love to hate him. His
Right.
character work is phenomenal.
He's a good
So
heel.
absolutely. So I kind of started like I saw him and I was like, man, this guy's doing something, like this guy's good. went to a few more shows, and I reached out to a local school here, and they told me, yes, you can come. Here's the information. Here's the price. I'm like, man, I can't afford that right now. And kind of left it alone from there.
Right.
And a few months later, I see, or actually, it was a while later. Now that I'm thinking about it, Gino Rivera posted something on Facebook that says he's going to be opening up a school in Albuquerque, and I'm like, really? Like,
Right.
let me check this out. So I shoot him a message, and he tells me like the information and everything. I'm like, all right, I'm in. And the rest is history, man. Like it was honestly just pure luck. If
Right.
I'd have never saw that Facebook ad, I'd have never went to that show, and I would have never heard of who Gino Rivera is. Which, if you don't know who he is, you absolutely need to go check him out because he is phenomenal. Yeah, man, it's like it's one of those weird things where like the universe just kind of puts you in the right place at the right time, and
Yeah, I mean, that happens. That definitely happens. I believe in it. Marcus says Jason has an amazing trainer, star in the making for sure.
Absolutely. Gino is one hell of a guy, man. An amazing trainer too. So yeah, so like I said, it was just one of those, right place, right time opportunities, and ever since then, there's no looking back. So
I got another guy here, Eagle Fan 07, Big Nick. Hey guys, question for Jason. What was your favorite match of these two? Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at Mania 25 or AJ Styles versus Randy Orton at Mania?
ooh, that's easy for me. Undertaker and Shawn at 25.
Oh yeah.
I believe it wasn't the end of the era, but that was the Hell versus Heaven one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was right. That was where he came down in the white, and yeah.
Yeah, that was that's one of my all-time favorites, actually. The whole story.
I mean, it's listen, bud. It's regarded in wrestling circles as one of the probably top 3 or 4 matches of all time.
Yes, that whole
it's the build up
story.
and the in-ring work. Those guys were in their prime. I mean, it was a perfect storm for a match.
Absolutely,
and it was great.
Yeah, so hands down, to answer that question, yeah, it's Undertaker, Shawn, WrestleMania 25.
All right, so you started training with Gino, and how long did you train before you actually got in the ring in front of a crowd?
So I started in August. I think I started at the beginning of August 2019.
Right.
We were training at the time twice a week for 3 or 4 hours a day, twice a week. So I was lucky enough that I had a class that was pretty well advanced. And excuse me just for a second, I'm going to plug my phone in so it doesn't die in the middle of this interview.
That's fine, man. Take your time.
So, and I was also lucky enough that I picked up quick enough to where I could hold a very basic match very quickly.
Right.
Nothing too crazy, just simple things.
Right.
So I ended up doing some stuff at Cactus League Wrestling in Tucson, Arizona, which is no longer running, and I had some borrowed gear from Gino, and my best friend in the wrestling business, Roland Steele, was standing next to me at the time, who also had some borrowed gear from Gino. So we're both there with tights that are too tight, and we just the reason we did that was because Gino was like, "Hey, you guys do this just in case. You never know." He's like, "I'm giving you guys a green light.
Always have your gear. Always have your gear, man."
Right. And he says, if they want to use you, I'm going to give you the green light. And so this is like December. And it just so happens that they were like, we're going to change the main event to a tag team match where our 2 champions, which one was Gino, the other one was Rick Luxury.
Right.
I don't know if you're familiar with Rick Luxury, versus whoever. and we got to find guys. And Gino was standing right there, and so were we. And he's like, well, what about my guys? They got gear, they're ready.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
And I'm like, sure.
Sure, we can do it. No problem.
Yeah. So I was like nervous as hell. I'm not gonna lie. So they called the whole match, but thankfully, and we go out there as Roland Steele and Jason Dredd, the Liberators. Which, boy, let me tell you, that was not good. Bless their hearts, they did their best. Rick and Gino did their best, but looking back, man, I was like, that is not, that's not it. That was terrible.
Well, you live and learn, though, right? I mean, you
Absolutely.
know, I watch all these documentaries of people's careers, and if you see some early like Undertaker stuff, where you're like, really? That's the same guy that choke slams and tombstones people. You know what I mean?
Yes, but so yeah, made my debut in December, early December of that year, and then as a tag team, and then made my singles debut in Amarillo, Texas, at Top of Texas, in a triple threat match against Roland Steele and Gino Rivera, which was a lot better, especially considering that it was my first match. Gino really helped us out, helped me out through that match, and Roland Steele did as well. So
awesome. And so then the pandemic kind of hit, right? And that kind of slowed things down for you because you got into the business in 2019, and then, you know, as everybody, everything kind of shut down in 2020, right?
Yeah, so that was a crazy time for me. We had to stop training for a little while,
right?
And I couldn't do anything.
So did you continue to train on your own? I mean, do what you could.
Absolutely, yeah. So I was doing a lot of home workouts. I got into pretty decent shape, not the best shape, but better shape than I'd been in before. I was doing a lot of practice promos. I was doing tape study, anything that I could, minus getting in the ring. I didn't. Gino was very adamant, and he would tell us just about every day, if not once a week, hey, you guys aren't on vacation just because there's no shows running. Like, you can still do this, you can do that. So I got a lot of my stuff together during that time. My promos, not to at the expense of sounding braggy, my promo skill increased drastically because I was literally in my room just doing promos for no reason.
Well, yeah.
And eventually they opened back up training. There were still no shows, but just being able to get back in the ring after a couple months was it was very nice. Like, it was so what's the word that I'm looking for? Just liberating. It was just like I was escaping again. And yeah, so we started going back to training, and eventually shows started popping up here and there, and now it's just like full force. And I'm not gonna lie, man, I've been on a roll lately. Like, I'm getting bookings, and I'm still
things
doing
are starting to open back up.
Yes, and it's been so nice,
which I love, because I've been dying for it myself here locally, and over the past couple of months they've been having shows with limited crowds or whatever, and now it's starting to even loosen up even more around here. We're they're going to have a full outdoor show coming up in June locally that I'm going to, and I can't wait. And also at the bottom of the screen down there locally, we're attending a fan fest on July 24th, which is kind of like a Comic-Con for professional wrestlings around here, at the Hamburg Fieldhouse, Legends of Hamburg Professional Wrestling Fan Fest. We're totally excited about that because there's going to be all kinds of wrestling legends there, from old WWE days, WCW days, ECW days. It's going to be really exciting. Some guys I might meet. Larry Zbyszko, Tito Santana, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, Sabu, Sandman, Todd Gordon, Tommy Dreamer, you mentioned. They're all going to be there. I'm jazzed for that. So yeah, that kind of stuff wouldn't have happened in 2020. So I'm so happy that this is happening for you guys
And,
too. Now, like you said, you're getting more bookings. People are throwing more shows now, so they're going to need guys, and so you're going to get more ring experience, and you just keep working at it, man.
Absolutely. And even when things started opening up a little bit, it was still it was very difficult for me to be able to travel
Right.
because my job, I'm active duty Air Force right now.
Which thank you
And
very much for your service,
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Uh,
man.
yeah,
Active duty.
So the Air Force actually made it to where you have to have everything pre-approved by like somebody way that makes way more money than I do to travel outside of the local area. And at
Right.
the time, the local area was just the city. So I'd have to get permission to just travel more than like an hour.
Right.
Eventually, they kind of opened it up to where it's like, and even now, uh, to this day, if I cross state lines, I have to have that approved. So it's really difficult now to try to tell promoters like, yes, I will 100% be there. Uh, but by the way, this could happen where they say, no, you can't go. I've been blessed enough to where I haven't had that happen. I've even had some last minute shows like this past weekend. I went to Tucson uh, and I didn't find out that I was going to go to Tucson until uh, the Thursday before. So I'm like scrambling, trying to get it approved. And so that I could go and be a part of that show. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I'm still feeling the effects of the COVID pandemic, whereas it's been really difficult for me to travel. There's more steps involved now than just getting in my car and going.
Yeah, man, and like so. That's the thing about everybody. Everybody we've talked to. This show started a year ago in May of 2020 because of the pandemic.
Wow.
We were just we missed wrestling. We were bored. The current product wasn't really doing it for us. The whole Thunderdome thing is innovative, I'll admit, but it's not the same as fans. Fans are coming back in July for WWE events. Fans are already at AEW events. It's exciting that it's all starting to come back.
It is,
And
and it's
we
coming
really
back in full force.
we really miss the fans. We really did miss the fans.
Absolutely.
As a fan, I missed watching fans on TV get on wrestlers. And speaking of getting on wrestlers, Jason Dredd is a heel. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong. I am a true blue heel. I absolutely love
By
it.
choice. I mean, did you say, I mean, is it easier for you to piss people off than it is to get their approval?
Yes. So it's funny because when I first started training, Gino would always laugh at me. He's like, "No, you're a baby face. Like, look at you. You look like a Gerber baby." That's like his whole thing. I'm like, man, shut up. Like, I kind
That's
of want to
yeah.
try. Uh, and it was before I was able to grow a beard. I had to get a shaving waiver and stuff because some medical things. But after that, I kind of like I grew out my facial hair a good bit, and he's like, "Oh no, no, now I see it. I see the killer." So no, Gino actually wanted me to be a baby face,
Right.
but I was oftentimes paired with Roland Steele,
Right.
uh, who we started training. He started training a week after I started training. We actually worked together in the Air Force. Like we were in the same squadron before he moved overseas. Um, and his whole character was basically Mr. America, Captain America. Uh, his moniker was the American Hammer, so nobody could really boo that kind of character in the
Right.
United States anyway. So we would always be paired up with each other, and he and I had like a great chemistry in the ring, where it was we could put on some pretty good bangers. Uh, Considering where we were in our career and in our training. Uh, so it was easy for me to get the heat from the crowd by beating up this guy who was full USA America. Uh, and then I started kind of meddling with it, man. Like my first whole thing was the Devil's Bounty Hunter, uh, and it wasn't working as well as I wanted it to. There was
Mm-hmm.
nothing unique about it. So very after the COVID pandemic, like during that whole time, I was like, something's missing. Like there's something about my character that's not there. I'm putting out some decent promos. I'm doing this, but it's not something just doesn't feel natural. So I took a step back and I started doing some different kind of promos. Instead of being serious, I said, well, let me try to be a jerk about it. Let me just
Mm-hmm.
be, let me start making fun of people. Like, let's see what we can do with that. And I was watching like Jerry Lawler, old school Jerry Lawler, Ted DiBiase, Roddy Piper.
They were good
Like,
people.
absolutely. Yeah. Uh, so I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm looking at the idea for what the Devil's Bounty Hunter is. I'm like, I'm too small. I need to be like a huge man to do this. I'm 5'9".
Mm-hmm.
I'm 250 pounds. I got a lot of mass, but I'm not tall
Right.
by wrestler's definition of tall. And I was like, this isn't working. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit me. It doesn't fit who I am. And I sat back and I was like, what was the worst thing about growing up? Like what is one thing that every single person in this world has had to deal with at least once in their life?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, a bully. Nobody likes bullies. Like nobody
Right.
likes somebody that just sits there and they just run their mouth over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I completely changed the way that I behaved in the ring, where my promos, I would insult people. I would make
Right.
people laugh, but at the same time, it's like, man, this guy's a jerk. Uh, and it, and I hate to say it, but it just came so natural. Like,
Well, the
like
big that's good because I
yeah,
mean, if you're a natural heel, I mean, I've always rooted for the heels. All right, I
yes,
told you I've been watching wrestling for 40 years. I've always rooted for the heels. All right, you know, I'm the guy that roots for the bad guy in the movies. I think I'm a
absolutely.
heel too. Anthony Joseph, you are a heel. Jason, you don't know that guy, but that guy is the ultimate troll on this show. He'll come on here
Oh
and he'll
boy,
say outlandish things. He's
oh
already made
boy,
a few comments that I didn't even put up there because he said
that's
something. I
probably
think
for
he
the
said
best.
I think he said something about Tommy Dreamer from Impractical Jokers. No, that's not the
Uh,
same guy. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, it's all good. It's all good. So I realized that I'm really good at just like running my mouth and coming up with like these creative insults, uh, whether it be talking about somebody's hairline or ripping off their stupid
I don't got
mustache.
one.
Uh, so yeah, I kind of started doing that, uh, and man, it's working. It's doing. It's so far. It's been really nice. And I'm honestly the complete opposite of the person I portray in the ring. I'm really humble. I'm really uh, down to earth person. I'm super nice. I'm willing to give the shirt off my back to anybody. Uh,
That's
but I
awesome.
was like, I want people to hate me, and I hate me whenever I'm in that character. And so then I just started. I was like, I'm not big, but I'm gonna act like I am. When I'm in the ring, I'm gonna smack people around and kind of move them the way I want to, and just really throw that 215 pounds
Or throw a
wherever
shirt
I
on the
want.
referee's face and give him a low blow because I seen that too.
Oh yes, yes, yeah. What's funny, and you should absolutely watch this match. I was in Colorado, and me and Roland Steele were on our way up there, and Roland Steele was going to be a surprise entrance in a fatal four-way match,
Hmm.
uh, as a screw you, Jason Dredd kind of thing for the number one contendership.
Right.
And we have one of the guys in the car with me, and the other guy is a Colorado local. The guy that I'm referring to is his name is Kid Dallas. He's extremely new, been less than a year in the business, and I gave him his first match, and then we had our fatal four way. And I was like, we're going to be in like a high school gymnasium. What if we put somebody in a locker and just left him there the whole match? And I was just joking. I was completely kidding. And then Roland looks over at me. He goes, "Man, that's a good idea."
That's
I'm like,
genius.
"No." I was like, "We can't do that." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, nobody's going to want to do that." And then Dallas is in the back. He goes, "I'll do it." I'm like, "Okay." So we get to the venue, and I'm like, "There it is." And he's like, "What?" I was like, "That's the closet that we're going to put you in." So literally in the middle of our match, I stuck one of the guys underneath the ring. Roland Steele's beating up Kid Dallas on the outside, and we beat him down a little bit, and we throw him in a broom closet and put something in front of him. And we left him there until the end of the match.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
And when I tell you the crowd's reaction, man, like they were so mad. And
It was genius. I mean, that's great that you have that, like a little bit of like a voice in your control, like to throw that idea out there, and everybody's like, yeah man, that's a great idea. Spitfire says the crowd thinks I'm a face, but the heels think I'm an a-hole.
I think he's an all right guy, but we haven't had the opportunity to face each other yet, so we'll see.
A good heel needs a manager. You agree or disagree with
that? I disagree because that is a very in fact statement.
Yeah.
To say that a good heel needs a manager, I completely disagree because
I think as if a good heel can speak, if a good heel is good on the mic.
Absolutely.
Then he could talk his own smack and then back it up.
Absolutely. I personally, I found out quite recently that the more you talk, the less you really have to do. You can save a lot of time and energy, and not to sound at the expense of sounding lazy. More is less in this business. More is less. So the less you actually do, the less you actually beat up on that face, and the more you talk, you have the crowd, you have their attention. They hate you because you're sitting there, you're pressing their buttons, you're running your mouth, you're calling them stupid, you're calling them fat, whatever the case may be. And as soon as like you've been running your mouth the whole time, and as soon as the babyface gets you that one good punch in the face,
you're right.
They just erupt,
I love that. I love that you have like given a lot of fans and anybody watching, and even pro wrestlers. I have a lot of pro wrestling friends that watch this. Even if they're not watching live, they watch it on the replay. You given basically what goes on in the mind of a heel when he's trying to be that dick. And I think
Absolutely.
that's a first. And I've done over 100 interviews, and we've been on for a year now, and we're on Saturdays and Sundays. And I think that's the first time I've ever had a wrestler as new as you are, a wrestler kind of give us that in-depth description of what goes on in your head when you're trying to be that dick.
Absolutely, because you can beat up the guy the whole time, and the crowd could be quiet. But if that crowd is making noise, that's how you know you're doing a good job. I've had people that wanted to fight me in Texas because I went out and I bought a Texas flag, and I apologized to any. Well, actually, I don't apologize because it was great to anybody in Texas. But I went out and bought a Texas flag right before the show, and they hadn't seen me for a while, so they didn't know really who I was.
Yeah.
They'd only seen me once before. So I come out, Roland Steele's behind me. He's in his Captain America stuff. And I hold up the Texas flag, and I'm like, yeah, Texas. And everybody there's like, yeah, Texas. And then I ball it up, and I throw it on the ground and step on it. And just the energy was sucked out of the place. And I'm like, oh, I had people that wanted to fight me. I'm at the merch booth, and this kid was like, I don't like how you did that. I'm like, well, I don't like you, so it doesn't even matter. So, yeah, if the crowd is quiet, then I'm not doing a good job. So I'm always,
that's what you want, man.
Whatever, I usually get hoarse after a match because I'm talking, I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm rolling out of the ring to get in somebody else's face, and then I come back in just to get punched in the face. So
you said you don't pay much attention to the current product. How much of AEW have you paid any attention to?
I'll watch the occasional clip. I don't have cable. I'm one of those people that don't have cable.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's something that piques my interest, I'll pick it up.
The reason why I ask is because you're a heel, and you're a budding heel, right? Which means that
Mhm.
you're just getting started in this business. And there's a guy in AEW that is,
I know
in
exactly
my
who you're
book, one
about
of
to
the best
say.
heels. What's that?
I said I know exactly who you're about to say.
MJF.
Yep, absolutely. MJF is
If you haven't seen
wow.
enough of his work, I think you should like watch a bunch of
I
his
do.
stuff, because he
I
just
do.
has. He might not be the best wrestler that you've ever seen, like AJ Styles kind of guy,
Hmm.
but he just has this it factor where I want to
Yes.
know what he has to say
Yes.
all the time.
Absolutely. And you're not the first person that's told me that. Somebody said that they get really big MJF vibes from me, which I'll take as a compliment, of course. Uh, yeah, I love MJF's heel work, man. I like the way that he pushes those boundaries where you
Bad.
don't know
I
if
mean, yeah,
like is he really
you don't
like
get.
this?
He's not there to sell T-shirts or tickets.
No.
He's there to be the heel in the company,
Yes.
whoever he wrestles for. He wants to
I was
be.
I listened to
I got a question for you. Who's your favorite heel of all time?
favorite heel of all time. I'm gonna say Ric Flair because Ric Flair always had like the a fire about him
Woo!
where yeah, absolutely like the whole I'm the best ever. I'm rich, you're not. Uh, I got the alligators and the
That's
suits and the
amazing
SWAT.
that a 24-year-old kid picks Ric Flair, because Ric Flair's heyday, dude, was long before you were
Yes,
born.
absolutely. Like I said, I watch a lot of the old school stuff. As far as like new school goes, or like if I had to pick somebody from like the 2000s era, I would say Edge. Edge was
He was a good
definitely.
heel. He was a good heel.
Oh man, you know, little kid me was like, man, I hate him. Like he cheated. I'm like, why? Uh, today's time, yeah, MJF is probably one of the top tier heels that we have today.
I think
So
so.
yeah,
I
definitely.
think so, because WWE isn't what it used to be, and I don't think they have a definitive like best heel of the company. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be the Miz right now. But like
Yeah,
like I
and
said,
even
I don't
him,
even. He
even the Miz is kind of you gotta like him.
he's getting older, and he's not. But MJF, like you said, takes it to way across the boundaries, away across the line with some of the stuff that he says.
I
Um,
will say I have been seeing a lot of clips of Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman.
that
Um,
okay, yeah,
I
I'll give you
greatly
that. I'll give you
appreciate that.
Roman.
I think
Um,
Roman's heel work right now, the storytelling's there. What he's doing with the Usos,
yeah,
like just recently, he said he called Jay Jimmy,
right,
and Jay was like, I'm Jay, not
right,
Jimmy. And then he's just like, it doesn't even matter which one you are. I'm like,
right,
dang, like
right,
that's
and that's
like I
family.
had to give him props. A lot of people, yeah, exactly. Like that's your cousin. Like you grew up with him. Like what do you? So you have to appreciate. A lot of people don't like Roman Reigns for what he is, but I
Yeah, but
will
you know what?
absolutely give props.
The tribal chief heel turn with Paul Heyman thing works.
It does. It
It's just that
absolutely
they
does.
had their problem is they haven't built any other stars.
Yeah,
Like
I completely agree.
he's it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, Randy Orton's still floating around, but he's been built for 20 years. I'm talking like
Hmm.
they haven't really pushed anybody to the point of where you
Right.
could believe that he would beat Roman Reigns.
Right. I also greatly appreciate Karrion Cross. I watched a lot of his older stuff, his TNA stuff, and
Sure.
his mind, like his character work, you think he's actually insane. So I can definitely appreciate that. You know, the whole cinder block thing where he held the guy. You know, it was really good. Loved
And I like Bray Wyatt, the heel versus the Fiend versus like what he is now. I like the
Yeah.
Fiend character, but I like it as a crazy heel, not what it is, which it's so over with the fans that he's kind of an insane face.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I totally get that too. And that's kind of like what my character doesn't want to be. I want people to love to hate me. I
Right.
don't want them to love me at all. And I want them to literally want. Uh, I tell people all the time, it's like, man, I want somebody to try to meet me in the parking lot tonight. That's my goal. Is I want somebody to try to jump the rail just because I press those right buttons.
That's a hell of a goal. He says, I want somebody to jump the rail and attack me. He said.
Yeah, honestly, because that's how you know you're doing your job. If people,
All right.
if people
So
don't like you, then
speaking of goals, what's the ultimate goal in the world of professional wrestling for you? Because a lot of guys, there's guys that want it all. They want to do this for a living, whether you work for Ring of Honor or AEW, WWE, NXT, whatever. And there's guys that just love, doing a shoot job. Meanwhile, on the weekends, they're wrestling all over the country. So what do you want out of professional wrestling?
I'm gonna have to agree with the latter on that. I wanna say like yes, like everybody in the business is always. I want to be in WWE. I want to be in AEW, TNA. That's how you know we made it, right?
Right.
But right now, I'm more focused on just getting better, just molding my craft and doing everything that I can now to, I guess, just to be better. So I want to travel. I want to. I've wrestled in the Southwest. I want to move off to the East Coast area, to the Mid South. I want to establish myself as a independent wrestler uh, in the United States. I want to go to Mexico. I want to go to Europe and Japan.
Yeah, man.
So right now that's kind of my goal is to just get myself out there now instead of looking at the way future and saying like yes, that's like yes, absolutely everybody wants to go to WWE, everybody wants to go to AEW, to
Sure.
Japan. uh, if that opportunity comes, obviously that's something that I would 100% take. uh, but right now, my focus is really just getting myself out there and marking states off my list.
That's a great answer for a young guy to have. That your actual answer to that question was right now I'm just focused on getting better. And
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, according to people who know you, you're on your way. I mean, you got a great trainer, you got a great work ethic, you got a great attitude.
Absolutely.
You're working on your character, you're working on building your brand, you're doing all that stuff that some guys don't do. Some guys just work on one thing or the other, but you're doing all of that. So hopefully all your ducks line up in a row and you get out of this business no matter what no matter what you want out of this business. I hope you get it.
Absolutely. And you say, if you don't mind, talk about my trainer a little bit. So Gino Rivera doesn't just teach professional wrestling in the ring. And for that, like everything that I've done, I owe to him. Everything, whether it's promoting myself, branding myself, I owe all that to him. He tells us all the time, like you're not just a professional wrestler, you are, uh, you're your own business, you're your own tool. You have to use it. He preaches backstage etiquette. He teaches merchandise and how to sell it, how to find like this and that, and he do podcasts, do this, do that. So Gino isn't just focused on the professional wrestling aspect of it. There's a whole larger picture that goes into professional wrestling to be a noticeable professional wrestler and not just the local guy that works only in that town, which there's nothing wrong with, but that's not what our goal is. And I say our, and I mean, if you haven't heard of these guys, Gino Rivera, Gypsy Mac, Roland Steele, Kid Dallas, and we've got a few other guys that are coming up. Bonzi LaFleur. Our whole camp, there is no wrestling in New Mexico. We have an athletic commission. It's like this whole big thing. So we're forced to travel. And that's what he preaches. He preaches, getting ourselves out there, not just being comfortable with where we are in life. It's always, okay, what's next and how do we get there? And Gino is really good at giving us those tools that'll help elevate us to that next level, be it advice on what merchandise we're going to do and our gear and stuff like that. Stuff that, to my knowledge, a lot of people don't really talk about. They don't talk about what goes behind the scenes. I don't just go to training and then do shows. I'm doing podcasts.
Yeah.
I make all of my own merchandise. Everything that I sell, I make it myself.
Yeah, man.
The road trips and stuff like that. Like, a lot of people don't really talk about that, but Gino is very heavy on that. So, like I said, props to him.
That's a great shout out. All right, I got one last question for you, my man, and we do this to everybody, and that is, if Jason Dredd can book himself in a match against anybody alive or dead or still wrestling or retired or whatever you want in any match, what would that dream match scenario be?
Okay, so I would have to say Dean Malenko.
Dean Malenko.
Like I said, I love technical wrestling, and I say Dean Malenko, like WCW Prime Dean Malenko.
Iceman Dean Malenko. Cruiserweight champion Dean Malenko.
Yes. I think not even just for I wouldn't want that just because I'll be like, yeah, we could put on a great match. I would want to learn from him because he was so technically advanced. And like I said, I love technical wrestling, and just being able to pick his brain and see what he wanted to do, what he would want to do, and how we could get into it. To me, that would be an awesome experience. So yeah, Dean Malenko.
That is an amazing answer especially for someone your age. Dean now works for WWE and behind the scenes, and he's training guys in NXT to try to.
Doesn't he work for AEW?
I'm sorry, that's right. He did switch gears. Yeah. He now works for AEW, but he's working with the young. He always has. He was working with the young guys at WWE. Yeah. And then when he got released, he's doing the same thing in AEW. So it's great to see his influence still being felt in the business. I do have a quick Dean Malenko story. When I was a kid, I absolutely did not like WCW at all. I didn't. Mm-hmm. I was true to WWF, and that's all I watched. And I had friends that would watch WCW, and they were like, "You got to watch WCW." Now, this was before the Monday Night Wars. This was before Nitro. All right, this was when WCW was only on, once a week on Saturdays, like on TBS or whatever, and they'd have WCW Saturday night, and they'd have different things on just to keep your interest and try to build up to their pay-per-views. Mm-hmm. All right, I didn't have nothing against Ric Flair or Sting or anything like that because I love Ric Flair and I love Sting and I love those guys. I was just more into WWF, and at the time, I really didn't care to watch. All right, so one time I'm at my buddy's house. And he puts on a match on WCW Nitro. On WCW Saturday night, where it was Dean Malenko versus, I believe it was Juventud Guerrera.
Ooh, yeah.
And I was sucked into the TV. All right, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever because they countered everything that they tried to do. They countered for like 5 minutes, and then they told this amazing story in the ring. And I think that was the first time where I started to appreciate that as as an art form that, you know, they're not just in there, you know, beating the hell out of each other and making it look good, and then somebody gets a pin or a submission. It's like they tell a story in the ring. They work on a body part, or they, you know, they focus on one, you know, one thing. And Dean Malenko was a scientist in the ring. I mean, he was like, you know what I mean? So that kind of made me start paying attention to WCW. And then when Nitro started and the Monday Night, well, then I had two TVs, brother. I was watching Nitro on one TV and Raw on the other TV. That is no lie.
I don't doubt it at all. Yeah, Dean Malenko, man, his mind as far as like wrestling goes, it's phenomenal. It's, you know, the things that he does, especially whenever you pair him up to somebody like Juventud Guerrero or Eddie Guerrero or Rey Mysterio, man, like the stories that they would tell, like where you have Rey Mysterio, who's a luchador, high flying, and you have Dean Malenko, who's like, no, I'm going to slow this down and do what I want to do. Not that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Still wrestling, by the way, Rey Mysterio. Still wrestles.
Yes.
One half of the tag champs with his son, which is pretty cool. I want to say one thing before we end this. And that is Anthony and trolling each other. They've been throwing comments your way, my friend, and I've been stopping it because basically all they're doing is trying to outdo each other. So I'm like, it ain't happening. I made this show all about you, not about them.
I'm the ultimate troll, not you. So,
all right, man. You got any shows coming up, or you got anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
I do. So actually, this weekend on June 12th, I'm going to be in Canyon City, Colorado, in the main event, actually, for the Renegade Championship. It's a no DQ tap out match, facing a guy named Jay Zilla. And so if you're in that area, if you're in the Colorado area, absolutely get to that show, because I'm going to walk in Jason Dredd, but I'm going to walk out the Renegade Champion.
Ooh.
Yeah, absolutely. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm slowly starting to learn how to use Instagram.
Yeah, I'm not an Instagram guy either. I'm on Facebook and YouTube, but Instagram is like,
man, I had to go to Gypsy Mac to learn how to use Instagram. I'm like, I don't know how this works, so she helped me out on that.
What's your handle on Instagram?
It's Jason Dredd Official. All one word, Jason Dredd Official. I'm also on Facebook, and I saw it earlier. It was popped up down below. Jason Dredd on Facebook, YouTube. I have a Pro Wrestle Tees, prowrestletees.com/Jason Dredd. Yeah, I'm all over the place, man. So if you want to look me up, then absolutely look me up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good stuff. I like I said, I highly recommend going on YouTube, especially checking out some of his matches from this past couple years. And man, I wish you nothing but the best. I really hope that you get out of professional wrestling, whatever you want to get out of professional wrestling, man, because you got a great attitude and you seem to be a really great guy. And I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too. Thank you for giving me a platform. Like I said, I really appreciate it.
One thing I want you to do for me.
Okay.
If you could find, if you have anybody that you know would love to come on this platform and tell their story, just send them my way. That's how we do this. Marcus sent me you, and you just keep paying it forward, and that's what we do.
Absolutely. You got it, man. You got it.
Meanwhile, everybody watching, this Saturday at 6:00, the professor will be back. It's me and the professor with a new guest on Saturday at 6:00 p.m. Eastern this Saturday for the next round of Turnbuckle. Also, on July 24th, Keith and I will have a table with merchandise, and we'll be doing on-the-spot interviews for any local pro wrestlers who want to come around and do on-the-spot interviews right there and then at the Legends of Hamburg Professional Wrestling Fan Fest in Hamburg Fieldhouse, Hamburg, Pennsylvania. Get tickets and info at www.legendsofhamburg.com. My guest has been Jason Dredd. And, man, thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you. And you have a great night, okay?
Don't go anywhere. We'll see you guys all next time on Around the Turnbuckle.
Ladies and gentlemen,
What you gonna do, brother?
oh yeah!
Woo! What? What?
If you smell what the rock